Hey everyone, welcome back again to another uh, session of our podcast Web3 and Chill. So it's one of your hosts, Ayush, with Vishal. Again, you guys know us by now well. And today we have with us someone really interesting, Mario. Hey Mario, how are you?
Hi guys, I'm good. I'm great, and I'm super glad to be on the podcast.
And the next question, who are you? Why are you here?
My name is Mario Ramić. I'm the CEO of a company called Takeaway Reality. We're one of the leading metaverse agencies. Effectively, when brands want to do something in the metaverse, they want to create something, they come to us, and then we have a really great internal team of developers, consultants, and all around people who can then help them just get the best out of their products and the best campaigns as well. So yeah, that's
Got it.
that's pretty much the TLDR of it.
That's great. But I am more curious in your story. What made you explore this uncharted and very uncertain area of Web3 and Metaverse? What was your motivation and how did you get started?
Well, when we're talking about motivations, I was always, ever since I was very young, very interested in philosophy. So
Uh-huh.
I would always be kind of reading books about history, psychology, and those types of things. Um, at one point, the really interesting part of kind of starting a business and all of that for me was the kind of philosophical backbones of it, right? So the kind of worldview that if you create something that people value, you're actually making the world a better place, no matter how cringe it might sound, right? But I do believe that it is true that if you're creating some good value to people, you're actually getting something in return as well. So that really fundamental idea got a bit challenged for me when I looked at the kind of world we are in right now. And by that, I meant social media. Um, so seeing the way that social media just has massively negative psychological effects on people, especially that it has, you know, I mean, if I talk about these problems, there's been many people who've talked about these problems in much more depth. But everything ranging from things such as mental health issues to this very strong focus on uh, people themselves and kind of narcissism that comes with it, and the entire way that it is impacting our society. In general, I was not a big fan of it. So naturally, I tried thinking, okay, so how could we create something that is different, that is more human, that brings us more together in a more natural sense. And at that same time, the kind of technologies that I found most fun to actually interact with were augmented reality and virtual reality. So that was my main driver into it. And I know a lot of people are mainly driven to this space through potentially blockchain and then crypto. For me, that was not the case. For me, the main introductory driver was really virtual and augmented reality. So I really did see that kind of, you step into the V. I was one of those people who stepped into VR for the first time, and I
Uh-huh.
was blown away. I couldn't figure out where I am for the next 2 days because I was just like, oh my god, that was fantastic. And at that point, I was like, okay, yes, this is the next era of computing. It does have challenges, but overall, I was really fascinated by that. And then at that time, I was a consultant in a major management consulting firm. Before that, I had some experience with Rolls Royce Motor Cars, where I worked as within marketing as well. So at that time, I really tried to get into that a bit myself, and I worked on some projects as well that were connected to it. And then, as it turned out, at one point, I was just thinking about, okay, there's this philosophy that it just clicked, where it made sense to use the virtual and augmented reality and the then very, very early emerging concept of the metaverse. This was way before Mark Zuckerberg came out with the whole Meta deal and all of that. And really, we tried founding a company on that basis, right? We tried founding a company on the basis of, let's try to create something that will make technology more human and feel more human and more natural to us as people, instead of forcing technology upon us and changing the way we behave. So yeah,
Got it.
that's the TLDR.
That's that's amazing. That's amazing. I think I relate to the story somehow because even Ayush and me during COVID, we started playing Fortnite. And Fortnite is an area where you even because me and Ayush we know each other from our university, but we are staying in different states or different places in the country. And COVID happened, and then we couldn't hang out. And Fortnite was the place where we went and hang out and spoke to each other a lot, and that is where this entire thing was born. But yeah, I do relate to that. But I have a question. While you are working on this area on AR, when you talk to someone who is maybe having a small or big brand, what is the eureka moment for them to start something in the AR? Like when I say AR today, the top of the mind recall or the first name that comes into my mind is maybe Snapchat followed by Google Lens. But if you because I know you talk to a lot of brand, what are they looking for
Why?
if they want to do something AR? The big why.
But
Why I
why
should
do
do
they spend money?
AR
Why are
campaign?
they?
Why? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I think the answer to that question actually lies in the sentence you said before that, where you said that you guys were playing Fortnite together, right, during COVID.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of mistakes are being made when it comes to the metaverse, when people are looking at and focusing really strongly on technology. But I think what we need to take a look at is, why are we wanting to utilize that technology? So taking a look at the trends and the data, right? And Fortnite is one of the best examples. So if we take just three games, as Fortnite, Roblox, and Minecraft together, they constitute 450 million people. That's roughly the size of North America. So it's a massive player
Wow.
base. It's a pretty massive player base. And what they're doing there is effectively what the core concepts of the metaverse are, right? And this is what we've found through our internal research. So we've done our internal research primary, and we're constantly doing it, right? Because the metaverse is currently yet undefined. So we're
True.
really
True.
trying to figure out, because when we're talking to big clients, to the Fortune 500 companies, um, we have to tell them, okay, this is what the data shows. Because even Apple came out and said, we don't want to talk about the metaverse until the word is defined, until everyone knows what it means. And this is why these conversations are super interesting, because even on this podcast, we're a part of defining what the metaverse is and what it means. Because we all kind of feel that we know what it is, but there's differences between people depending on who you speak to, and especially between big companies. So, sorry, I went a bit out just to answer
No,
your
no, this is
question.
very interesting. I think we can definitely deep dive on what is metaverse to different companies and people. So go on.
Absolutely. But to come back to answer the
Yeah.
question, I think there's one kind of really key answer, and it contains kind of three little sub answers. Why companies and people and everyone should be kind of getting involved in the metaverse. And that's because there's a really, really key um, thing that we've noticed happening, and that's people are spending massive amounts of time on online video games, which
Mm.
have metaverse features, very early metaverse features. And they're not using them as games, recreation as we used to. They're using them as their primary social space. Just like, you
Yeah.
guys said you were in different states, so you wanted to hang out. So what did you do? You played Fortnite. And this is it, right? This is the exact same thing. I always like to take the example when I was a kid. I used to go to, my playground, local playground, and play football. But when my brother, who is younger than me, when he was a kid, when he was quite young, like 12, 13 years old, he would meet with his friends at school. And then after school, they wouldn't come to the playground. They would stay inside on their computers, but they would live close to each other because they'd go to the same school. But still, they would join in and play Fortnite together or Minecraft. And they would create and build while still socializing. So I think that is the kind of key. If we were to choose one key aspect and element, is that the metaverse and metaverse-like experiences are becoming to Gen Z and then Gen A, I believe it's called after that,
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
are becoming what the mall used to be in the 90s, for example.
Got it, got it. So if I, from a marketer point of view, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is what I think. Like YouTube or Instagram is a part of my media mix. Metaverse will also be a new component adding to that same pie. That is the correct understanding, right?
That's an interesting way of looking at it. Um, from I mean, again, you're not wrong, and neither am I, or is anyone else, right? As we can only assume what the metaverse will look like once it is fully built and where it will evolve. The way that I'm trying to look at it and the way we look at it in the company is more so at Takeaway Reality, we mostly look at it as a kind of natural evolution of the internet. Right? So
Okay.
there's not going to be like one metaverse that you're going to visit as a website, but the entire UI, the way you interact with the internet itself, is going to change from Web 2.0, which is a more kind of video picture image based selection, to a Web 3.0 where it's more like a actual spatial 3D thing, and that's the kind of core concept, and that's where then VR fits in because it's natively 3D and AR as well. So my understanding is that it's going to be more like an evolution of the way we use the internet rather than a specific place itself.
Got it, got it, got it. So again, do you still say that Gen Z is the uh, main TG or main target group right now, or based on your experience, you are also seeing people above one the age group of above that particular demographics are also interacting more with AR. Where is the adoption high? And when do you think we should see a mass adoption like YouTube today? Everyone go to YouTube. When AR will be in that space? Is it like 3 years, 5 years, 10 years?
That's super hard to say. It's. I'm not saying it's impossible to say, but the thing is, a lot of things need to come together for there to be mass adoption. Now,
Okay,
what I would start with, what I think the start will need to actually be with software,
okay,
because throughout history, you've always had to start with hardware. Someone would create a device, and people would make software for that device. But where I think in the current kind of landscape we will go to is we'll create these spatial experiences, we'll make them social, we'll make them challenging, such as Fortnite, right? Great example. Social experience, challenging experience, and it's spatial. It's in 3D. And it gains mass popularity on desktop, on an old medium. But if you actually think about it, the ideal way for someone to play Fortnite would be through VR because it's a much more personable, much more natural, and it is
yeah.
native for 3 dimensions.
The
So
day
now,
they launch Fortnite in VR, I am not going to leave my PS.
and
I'm going to
they're
spend
working.
hours and hours there. Yeah, they
That's
are
the
working.
day
I
I'll
heard.
buy a VR device.
I
As of
think
now, I
they are
don't.
launching in 2025 is what I've heard. Not sure, but that is what I've heard.
No, I'm absolutely certain that right now, it 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 will take a bit of time for people's tastes to change, um, and for people, to first start buying the VR devices, and then a cool, trendy game coming, such as Pokemon Go, coming to VR, and then everyone's going to kind of be jumping on it. And what I think that will be a PC game that is super popular, but is also playable in VR. And we're seeing
Got it.
more and more of these days, right? We're seeing things such as No Man's Sky, for example, where you can just play on VR, cross play with PC, right? It's a super interesting game, and it looks beautiful in virtual reality. But I think it will take time for people to get used to it, and the technology, it's still quite basic. Like, you can still see a massive amount of improvement that could be created. When I'm talking about this, I'm usually referring to the Quest 2 as the most popular device. And look, props to Meta for making it so
Yeah,
affordable and selling it to so many people. But they know as well that there's massive improvements to be made here, and that's the beautiful part, right?
got it,
So
got it, got
yeah.
it. Got it. And when you design such campaigns for brands, what are the kind of KPIs they look for? Is it just the time of engagement, or are there any business metrics which you have generally seen see an uplift when we do an AR experience for a consumer?
That depends on the brand. And look, we always try to look at what the brand is, who they are, what's their personality, right? And what they're trying to be, and then most importantly, what are their goals? Sometimes brands come up to us and they're like, "Hey, we'd like to create something with very short turnaround, where we're going to get, let's say, a lot of clicks, a lot of conversions, things like that." And that's okay. That's one goal, and we have tools for that. We always try to create things that have the metaverse mindset, but that are being used on current technology and current platforms, such as mobile, which have already been adopted. But then sometimes brands come to us and they say, "Hey, we'd like to create something that, we don't care what's going to happen for the next 2 years with it. We're gonna put in investment. We believe in the vision." And at that point, it's a different thing entirely on what you create. So it really does depend. I'm sorry, not
Got
being
it.
very clear in the question, but it really
No,
does depend on the brand.
but I do relate. I do relate to that. Yeah, I think I do relate to that. Okay.
Cool. So I have a question for you, going to a little bit of technical side. What kind of skill sets do you look for while hiring a developer who's going to build these VR experiences in a metaverse?
Yeah. So what we are looking for, um, specifically, is we're in general we're looking for a lot of people um, who are kind of very we're looking for young people who are super willing to learn for most of the things, because the space is so rapidly changing that, for what we've noticed, is that you take some super experienced developer with a lot of years of experience, and they're going to be great at one thing, but that one thing might not be that commonly used. What we're trying to look for is like really really intelligent people, really intelligent devs, um, that can learn, that can put that time into improving themselves and being really resourceful. When a new update comes or a new API comes, or we want to do something, instead of on a platform such as 8-Wall, we want to do it natively on, let's say, when we're talking about AR, we want to do it natively on 3JS or something like this, that they could instantly jump from that. Now, when it comes to the actual technical side, what we think the very foundation of the metaverse will be, I'm very confident in that, will be
Got
Unreal Engine and Unity.
got it. Got it. I have a very no question. I'm talking to a lot of players in this area, but I still don't know the right answer. What is the difference between the Spark and 8 volt? Like, I keep hearing these two terms. What is the fundamental
So
difference
Spark,
in a very
Spark
no
AR and
way?
8-Ball.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
it's yeah. So Spark AR is owned by Facebook Meta, um, and 8-Wall is kind of independent.
Okay.
So the difference is, they both do similar things in a very different way. So they both do augmented reality. When it comes to, I would say 8 Wall gives you much, much more freedom with what you want to
Got
do.
got it.
Uh,
Can I compare them like the Android and the iOS of the AR world?
I would not say, I would not make that comparison, primarily because Spark AR is very closed. So you can use it on Instagram, but it's not like you can just deploy it on a link.
Okay.
Whereas 8Wall is used for that kind of general AR experiences. So I would
And
say
can 8 Wall also get integrated into an Instagram and deploy the AR experience?
we don't tend to practice that because, as I said, look, Spark AR is great, right? So if something wants to be done on 8Wall, like it could be integrated through a link, of course, in the same way that any other link can. Um, but in general, if you want something to be very heavily pushed on Instagram, I would suggest using Spark AR because Spark AR
Got
is very, very good.
got
I mean, it has some limitations, and that is going a bit deeply on the technical, but they're both super. They're both really, really good. Um, but it's just that they do serve two different use.
ecosystem. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
and also
Just
I
to
was mentioning
simplify.
Snapchat as well. Snapchat lenses, also very simple. Like I would say, in some features even better than Spark AR.
Okay,
So the Snapchat Studio is also really really advanced.
got got it. So suppose I, as a marketer, if I want to create an AR experience, and I suppose I want to deploy it on a website, on Instagram, Facebook ecosystem, and on Snapchat. Do I work with them separately, or is there some common? Is there some single guy I can go and work with them who can deploy the same experience in the three different platforms? Or do I need to develop that on Spark, on Snap, on 8Wall? How do that go?
I mean, the best results again depends on the budget, right, and the time. Because the best results would be if you would create three very similar experiences on the three different platforms. Because of course the algorithms and everything they're going to promote it better natively. Um, but it's perfectly possible for you to just share a link through Snapchat or share a link through Instagram. And if you do that, you can immediately use 8Wall as the kind of uh,
Got it.
lowest common
Got
denominator that can cover all of them.
got it. Got it. Got it. But the risk is that we send a link, so the CTR is the issue. People might drop off.
Yeah, yeah, effectively, yes.
Okay, got it. Interesting.
Where do you see the future of metaverse agencies such as yours headed? Like, what's going to change in the next few years, or where's somewhere you think you're gonna double down and expand crazily?
Well, I do see the future as a super positive thing because already we're having these conversations where really we are limited by technology. So we're already having conversations with brands that we know people are working on the technical solutions, and we know we'll be able to do what we're talking about with them now in 2 years, right? So and once, because the technology in the current sector is really really at the beginning, and what we're working with here is um, what we're working with here is really the kind of very beginning, very 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 basic stuff. What I do see as a general trend in the industry, that a lot of the companies that are working with big brands as well, that are creating experiences no matter what they are, just so the brands could get PR, and then these experiences don't really turn out. I think they're doing a disservice to both themselves and the industry as a whole. Because I think what we need to be focused on as an industry is to create products that are already usable, can already be viral, and already be popular, even though they might not be the most metaverse proofs of concept. I think we need to adapt to the current level of adoption of the technology rather than try to force the adoption of the technology onto the market. So I think that the companies that are focusing on the best results, even in the shorter term, will be the ones that then get profiled out into bigger companies. And as within every industry, you start off with a lot of small companies, and then they get profiled into bigger and more kind of bigger companies, and there's mergers and there's all of that, so they get consolidated. So I think the same thing will happen to the kind of metaverse agency space
Mm-hmm.
as well. But my focus and our focus is really on two things, and that one of them is really having our fingers on the whole heartbeat, on the pulse of the metaverse, and then the second thing really being on making sure we deliver super quality products that can get results even in the short term, and just being super transparent with our clients on what we think the risks are, and what we think where we think the kind of golden eggs lie.
You mentioned that you want to have your fingers on the heart or the pulse of the metaverse. Do you wish to expand on that?
Yeah,
What
so
is that?
that's the reason why we're constantly doing research on user trends, user experience, right? We're obsessed with this. We're fully obsessed with making sure we're constantly tracking these
Hmm.
trends of Fortnite, Minecraft, Roblox, that they started there, but now they're moving a bit to Decentraland. The crypto space is coming in as well into these trends, and really the definition of the metaverse is really being construed through these conversations that massive companies are putting out, and even the conversations that you and I are having now, that are really creating what the metaverse is. So we're really super focused on following where exactly the philosophy leads, following the new technological developments that will allow us to create better
Yeah.
experiences, and then finally just creating, like, making sure that the people who are actually interested, that we have their profiles, that we have their ways of thinking, and that we have the kind of um, evolution of the average metaverse user, who is constantly evolving, statistically speaking,
Yeah.
really in check.
When you say they're constantly evolving statistically, then do you mean the numbers are growing, or the amount of money that an average user spends is growing, or the technology that they are on is getting better? Like, what does that mean?
Actually, none of these three. I meant specifically on the fact that the metaverse experiences themselves, they can
Okay.
be so different and so differentiated. Like something like Decentraland might
Yeah.
have a complete different user profile than a game like Roblox.
True.
Even by default in Decentraland, in Roblox you're usually talking about the average audience of 9 to 12 year olds. When we're talking about Decentraland, you're talking about 25 to 23 to 25 year olds, roughly. So
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
I was saying is the the user profile, the kind of psychological user profile of the average metaverse user is changing because the experiences are very different.
Yeah.
Because you can have something like Decentraland pop up and become very popular, and that skews the metaverse user to this. And then you can have Roblox becoming very popular, that skews the average age down, for example.
Yeah.
So it really depends on what kind of experience pops out, and to what kind of demographic comes in. But the overall data is quite clear that it is Gen Z, especially younger Gen Z, and then the next generation coming after Gen Z, however we decide to call that
But I
generation.
think, yeah, but I think people above the age of Gen Z will slowly start getting into it. Like, this is my hypothesis again, because today Roblox looks like a very game which is for children. People like us are not going, but maybe uh, let's say Fortnite's evolve into something that is far more superior looking, or let's say big studios like Disney or Warren Bros. They come up with really cool version of this stuff, I am sure people will get it because that is how it started. Like Marvel started making Iron Man movie, kids were watching it, and now every adult is watching a Marvel movie because they built it good. So I think that is it's a matter of time from who cracks it first and who cracks it the best. I think that is how it is going to flow.
Now, I might,
Exactly.
on the Marvel example, I might disagree a little. The first Marvel movie I watched would have been Iron Man in 2008. I would be what, like, I don't know. I was young, 13, 14. And since then, I've been following it. So I grew up with the ecosystem, whatever Marvel built. So I think maybe that's how Metaverse will evolve. Plus, Mario, building in such a industry, the tech is changing constantly, the demand is changing constantly. I'm sure it's super difficult and tricky.
Um, that's what makes it interesting for us. We get the people in takeaway reality that are really super super motivated by challenges and by creating new and innovative experiences. So that's what these type of people thrive on, right? That's what we all thrive on. It's the constantly changing environment. It is not it's not relaxing, but it is
For
exciting,
sure.
right?
How old is Takeaway Reality? Like, how long
So
have you
we're
been running it
we're, we're
for?
going to be 3 years soon.
And how
Uh,
many people are employed with Takeaway
so
Reality?
we currently have we're trying to keep the team quite concise.
Hmm.
So what we try to do is we try to have, at the core of the people we have about 15 people,
Okay.
uh, and we're trying to keep it super concise, uh,
So,
because we try to then use, when we need like a expert, we have a vast network of experts in specific topics. So when we
got
need
it.
an expert, we use subcontracting as well, so that we get that kind of one bit of expertise, and then we have the kind of core team, which are
Hmm.
mostly very 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 smart generalists.
And that's great. And how many clients do you work with? Currently, how many clients have you worked with?
So overall, in total, I actually don't know that number. It's a lot.
Oh,
It's
okay.
I'd say over the last year, probably around 20 kind of
Wow. Uh,
relatively well-known brands,
That's great.
and then across about potentially something like 30 projects.
And this is
Uh,
a bootstrapped startup, or are you planning to raise funds, or have you raised funds?
no, so for now we're really growing organically.
Oh, wow.
We have
That's
good
brilliant.
funding as well, and we're really trying to, even when it comes to pricing as well. We try not to be too expensive, just so we could get as many relationships as possible with big brands. Because, as I said, for us right now, the finances are not that much of a problem. Um, it's really kind of smooth sailing, which is super shocking for someone connected to, let's say, Web3 and all of that these days. Um, but yeah, I'm super happy with the kind of state we're in.
And that's absolutely great.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's all because of the people that are just day in and day out just blowing my mind with the amount of things that they can create, and it's super motivating to people because it's just like, this is a blank canvas, this is the Wild West. It's
And
where you
tech
can
is
really
evolving so fast, right? Tech is evolving so fast. I think this is the best time to be. I think Chat GPT is now trending. People are saying it is going to replace copywriter, DALL-E 2, Midjourneys, all of those are trending. People are saying it is going to replace designers, and it's a great time to be in this space, I believe.
no, it's absolutely great. I think it's the thing is, one of my favorite parts of the job is the clients themselves, because they come in and they're super happy to be working on something so innovative within their companies, because a lot of those companies, they're these kind of um, very major corporations, and there they have their routines that obviously work because that's what made them major corporations. But then they always need to do some innovation, and then some of these people who are maybe used to doing kind of routine stuff, then they get assigned to something where they're about to find an agency like us where they work together on something super innovative, and they're you can like I'm my favorite part of the job is looking at the client's anticipation of, oh my god, I can't wait when we launch this, because I can't wait
Got it.
what the market will say, how the
Got it.
market will react, because it's so new. So that's the kind of really great part of it for me at
And
least.
what do you say to a client who wants to do something in AR but do not know what to do, what they want to do in AR? How do you approach those clients? Because
With
I know a lot of people in the community who wants to do something, but they don't know what they want to do.
Yeah, it's so if I understood correctly, you're talking about when they want to go ahead with something that we don't recommend, right?
No, no. So my question is, like AR is a big buzzword, Metaverse is a big buzzword. Brands want to do something in this space, but they are not sure what they want to do. How do you approach that
Oh
situation?
yeah, that's literally our every first conversation with a brand. And we do understand that that is our responsibility, like that's why we are here, right? So we have a whole entire methodology pulled, it's a very detailed and well thought out methodology where we do a series of workshops usually. Sometimes at this level of experience, especially I still try to make every call that I can the first call with a client myself, because at this level of experience, I, I've had similar conversations already, and I could already see, okay, this is what we might already want to suggest. But if it's something new and they're not really sure, usually what we do is we go and we structure a workshop where in the first one we really just explain what the metaverse is and try to get their input on what their goals are for the campaign. Do they want it long term, short term, what their goals are? Then on the second one, we already generate some solutions, some potential ideas, and then we have a workshop where we, alongside with the client, we choose the best ideas, and then on the final kind of stage, what we do there is we really hone in on the one idea or the two ideas that we've chosen and try to think of it in a bit more detail. And
Got it.
after that process, it's just super. The client feels much more comfortable because they understand, because they went through the process with us. They do understand that their wishes have been heard and that their
Got it.
goals and priorities have been kind of utilized in a good sense.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah. So circling back, and I guess this will be the last question for our podcast today. You mentioned different people understand a metaverse differently. And in your first workshop with clients who have no clue, you explain it to them that what is a metaverse. So Mario, what is a metaverse?
That's my favorite question, actually. Um, so, what we believe the metaverse is, we have a very decent definition that I've almost memorized, but I always read it off the screen, so it's a bit tricky now. We believe it's a
Hey, it's okay.
natural.
You can read it off a screen if you want to.
I'd need to open it up now, but I know it. I know the main points of it. So what we believe it is, it's a natural evolution of the internet into a spatial 3D experience that will transform the kind of passive users of today into active participants in these experiences. So to say it a bit more clearly, we really focused on the concepts themselves, right? We think the internet is evolving into something that is much more human, much more natural, because humans have evolved to exist in a 3D space. We only used
Yeah.
the 2D space because we had to, because we didn't have any other option. But now is the first time in the history of humanity where we have the technology to actually create 3D spaces around us. And that just improves our memory, it improves our well being, it improves our psyche. And we think that that's really the core benefit of what this new future can bring. So, the internet, in our opinion, will evolve. It will still be the internet. It will still be the same fundamental technologies, servers and clients. And
Hmm.
then what will happen on top of that will be the building of a 3D space. Something like, and what a lot of the criticism on the metaverse is, oh, you're just trying to create a new World of Warcraft. And what I say to that is, yes, effectively, yeah. I believe, something like World of Warcraft was the great predecessor to what the metaverse will be, where you go in and you have 3D spaces. You have a variety of different 3D spaces to explore. It's a
And
world.
it's widely popular between the users. So it's not like it's just a random thing.
Yeah.
It's a great piece of work.
Exactly, and it's something that is really for us one of the really really great blueprints of where this technology could land. Instead of going to a website, we're going to be debuting something soon called the Tar Microverse, where um, it will just be a very simple reimagining of a website, where instead of going and scrolling, why don't you just go in and you see a 3D model of a little town, and then on that town you could click on the different buildings, and those would be the links. So, thinking with even the smallest changes, the most incremental changes, how we could get from point A, which is Internet 2.0, where we're now, to the final station, which is the metaverse. But a lot of agencies and people, they're jumping straight to the metaverse. They're creating amazing experiences that no one is going to use. Right? What we're trying to do is we're trying to move there incrementally. We're trying to,
Hmm.
create things with technologies that currently exist that follow the same mindset and the same kind of philosophy behind them. So yeah, you asked me what the metaverse is, and I think that
Yeah,
that
that's
is
that's
that is our
interesting.
throw into the hat. And now
I
I'm
love
super
that thought. I
different
love that
ideas.
thought about going incrementally. Like building a great metaverse is amazing, but are people going to use it? That's the question. And going incrementally can be like build an AR experience, let people engage with that, then maybe build a game or something like that. I think that is a great approach.
Yeah, a lot of people are
Absolutely.
calling metaverse as ghost cities these days, like the ones we have, because you can build a great one, but you got to
Yeah,
get people out
and
there.
effectively, there's been some great ones that have been built, right? But for whom? Like that's the question. It's like, who are we building them for? It's like we're building
Hmm.
something that is relatively good, but that expects users to create the actual content, but then it doesn't have any initial drivers for the users, and the technology is way too off. Like Horizon Worlds by Meta, great example. I tried it. It's actually pretty good. Like technologically, it's great for development, but it has no content because people haven't gone to it because
Yeah,
it's too early to create something like this. But on the other
agree,
hand, you see
agree.
something like VR chat, which is an organic version of this, has a desktop version, has a VR version,
Hmm.
massive amounts of people on VR chat every day, right?
Yeah, agree.
And I would say that Horizon World is better to develop for, it's easier to create great experiences, and it has better graphics. But
But no one is
VR
there.
chat is winning.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Great, amazing discussion. I think
Yeah, man,
uh,
this was.
if I had to take one line, I think moving the metaverse of Web3 incrementally is my key takeaway. I love that line. It's a
Thank
great,
you.
great thought.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I absolutely enjoyed our conversation. It's been pretty great.
Yeah, so for all our executives, VP directors who want to enter into the metaverse and are still thinking how to, uh, please go ahead, contact Mario, and he surely will help you out with your AR, VR, or your metaverse journey. So thanks, Mario. Thanks a
Thank
lot.
you so much.
And thank you very much for the invite. I had a great time today.
Yeah, thanks. And people,
Great.
please don't forget to subscribe. Yeah, and see you in another episode.